thanks to everybody that's made the effort to come along. Want to thank the panel, amazing panel that have taken their time out of their busy schedules to come and support the event, so really appreciate that. To introduce the event, I suppose, and tell you a little bit about myself, I'm Sean McCleary. I'm the MD for Insight Recruitment. When setting Insight Recruitment up about 18 months ago, this is exactly the type of event we had in mind. We wanted to be different than any other recruiters. We came up with people before placements and really wanted to get involved in the tech community. So the fact that the second event is as busy as the first event, which is a sellout, and the people we've got in this room, I'm personally really proud. Couple of things that I get to talk about today, which I'm passionate about. The first is people. So you'll find out today I'm really passionate about people, and being able to talk about that today is an honour. The other is Manchester. So we wanted to get involved in the local tech community with events like this. We also wanted to get involved and support the local community with initiatives like homelessness. So we support a charity called the Mustard Tree, alongside kind of CV writing, interview days, supporting getting people back into work. We also support them financially. So whilst this is a free event, free food, free drinks, anybody that wants to make a donation on the way out would really be appreciated. In terms of what we're talking about today, we're talking about and retaining the best talent in the North, ultimately. And that's geared around technology mainly, but it's geared around people also. And I think looking at the panel, you've probably not got a better place, no pressure, to talk about that from all different strands. In terms of the running format for the evening, I'll be handing over shortly to Kirsty, who's going to be keeping us all in check, asking questions. She's also going to be encouraging questions from the floor, so please feel free to get involved. Any difficult questions, don't send my way, send somewhere else. The end, yeah, you've been nominated. The housekeeping stuff. The toilets are upstairs, I believe, so probably the easiest way if anyone needs a loo is down the back through there. I've also been told to highlight the hashtag Insight Into, so if anybody's tweeting, if anybody wants to share content, pictures, just say they're at the event, please feel free to use that Insight Into. Okay, so first up, can we all welcome Kirsty, please, from Tech North.
I feel like a bit of a fraud now because I used to be a journalist and I'm not anymore, so this really isn't my job. For those I haven't met, my name is Kirsty Stiles. For 5 years I worked as a technology journalist in London, and that meant covering the growing startup scene, particularly in East London, and all of the kind of interesting things that came out of that. The unicorns, the VC investment, whether we should imitate Silicon Valley or whether we should have gone our own way. I moved back up here about a year ago I'm from Warrington, home of Swedish innovation, if you've ever been to IKEA. Moved back up north to take this fantastic job with Tech North. Tech North is funded by everyone's favourite department for culture, media and sport, and it's our job to make people realise that the North is a great place to start, grow or join a digital tech business. As the head of talent and skills, it's my job to understand whether we have a digital skills gap and what we can do about that. One of the programmes that we created was called Northern Voices, which was about getting women who already work in the tech industry to be more visible. We trained them for public speaker and media opportunities, and then we put them on panels, we put them onto the BBC and onto Sky, so that people might think, oh, actually, that might be a job for me. And indeed, we might change the culture of the industry, which might not be so welcoming to people from diverse backgrounds. I wanted to do a show of hands to see who is people here looking for jobs or interested in finding out about jobs that might be out there. If your boss is in the room, you don't need to put your hand up.
Any of my work, put the hand up.
And do we have people who are hiring, people who are struggling to hire? Some. Who doesn't know why they're here? And how many people are there here who do not identify as men? So one of the things we're going to be discussing is around diversity and welcoming diverse people into our sector. But first off, I'm going to ask Sean first off. If you're a graduate looking for work, if you are a company looking to set up, if you're from anywhere in the world, why should somebody choose Manchester?
Okay, did the Mancatson give it away that much, did it? Yeah, I mean, we made a conscious decision to set Insight up in Manchester. So a number of reasons. There's the kind of obvious factors. I believe there's an airport nearby, I'm not sure, but so I've been told. The rail links, if the HS2 goes off, there'll be an hour commute to London. The universities, I think it's the biggest European campus across the different Manchester universities. So, the kind of Manchester as a city is booming. I think, the obvious places for work, Media City, the BBC relocating. I personally really like it around the Northern Quarter, all the kind of up and coming tech businesses that seem to be establishing themselves here. I think for me personally, I'm talking more both from a business point of view and also from my own internal recruitment point of view. It's probably the two factors were the businesses in Manchester. So, we've all heard about the different businesses that are relocating from down south to set up in Manchester. That's on top of the really good established businesses, some of them that are here today that are based in Manchester. And I know Manchester's got one of the highest start-up numbers in terms of businesses that start up in Manchester also. So from a recruitment point of view, which ultimately is what we do, the opportunity to find the right customers is really high in Manchester. But I think the main factor, and this is probably my biased nature, so sorry to offend anyone who's not from Manchester.
We're better people.
Well, yeah, in a roundabout, it would be the people. I think the talent, both from a sales point of view or a recruitment point of view in terms of the type of people that I want to hire, but also from a tech point of view in terms of the type of people that we want to put in jobs. I think, without getting too deep and psychological with it, personality traits, work ethic, I think that Manchester's got a lot of decent competencies that make good people that are recruitable. So big up to Manchester.
Now, Amal, you're North coders. Is it about the North or is it about Manchester? Wait. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Amal. I'm one of the owners of North Coders, and it is about the North. The North was put into the title for a very, very important reason. It's because we want to look after this region. So we, in the easy way, we run a coding bootcamp. We teach people how to code over a 12-week course, and then we find them jobs at the end of that course. And 93% of the people that have been on the course are now working with software developers in Manchester and Leeds and across the north, mainly in those two cities at the moment. Does that answer your question, Kirsty?
I'm gonna change the format and I'm gonna get everybody to introduce themselves because everybody's wondering who on earth you all are. So Kelly, please tell us who you are.
You have to ask me now before I get so drunk I can't remember. My name is Kelly Singleton. I'm HR Director for MAGO, which is Manchester Airport Groups, the big airport you refer to, is arm's length digital agency, which we set up about a year ago. I won't go into it too much because no one does a much finer job of it than I do. I've been with the airport group for 2 years and 1 year with MAGO since its inception in August last year. And prior to that, I've just worked in, I think, every industry imaginable, starting off in retail as a commercial kind of guru and then deciding I cared much more about the people. And I agree, I think it's the North, but I love Manchester.
So, I'm Nicky Cheska, I'm from ThoughtWorks, and what can I tell you about myself? Well, I've been in ThoughtWorks for just over a year now, and it's absolutely fantastic. I just thought I'd put that in there because Neil's sat there, so I've got to do that. But it really is. And as far as I'm concerned, I've been around the industry for a long time. I think one of the things that I always say in these things, when I do get invited, very rarely re-invited, is technology is all sorts of things to different people. You know, I started off and I actually came across a punch card reader. Now, that sort of puts me in a sort of an era well back here. But really, I'm passionate about technology. I'm passionate about what the North brings. I'm passionate about what Manchester brings. I don't actually live in Manchester, but I've lived all my life just outside of Manchester. My main aim is actually to bring the businesses and the organisations into Manchester. What do I do while I was in ThoughtWorks? To give you a flavour, my title bears no relevance to what I actually do. The title is around delivery director. But I work with large-scale organisations, speaking at high levels, around really how they can change the way they work to adapt to those digital practices and really make use of the great talent we've got around Manchester. Thank you.
Hi there, so I'm Andrew Shakespeare. I've been working in IT for, as my kind of updated CV reminds me every time I update it, about 22 years. So I started out as tech support for a very small law firm, and not through design, but I've found myself working for larger organisations every single time I've moved on. So I'm currently with the NHS, which, as people will appreciate, is a large organisation, so I believe the next step is the Red Army. I can be on the NHS. And so after my first kind of stint around support, I managed to get into programming. And that was kind of, it suited my mindset, kind of numbers, logical, dull, boring kind of person like that. But eventually I think I kind of realised that I could do more by trying to motivate other developers. And then I was able to spread that out, so it wasn't just developers, it was support teams and project managers. And I think that's one of the things I've been really fortunate to do, is as I've gone on, it sounds awful to say I've moved away from the technology, but I've moved more in towards what the technology can do and being clear that the difference we're making through technology, and trying to bring different personality types, because obviously testers are different to developers, are different to architects, are different to project managers, and trying to connect those people so that we are quite efficient in our delivery. And in some ways, although I believe I was billed as the technical person, which is boring, because I was a fairly mediocre coder at the best of times, I do feel very much that my role is around people, around creating people, which is probably back to what we're talking about. So.
Hi everyone, my name is Nolan Hoff. I'm the Managing Director for Mago, which is our new digital startup agency that Kelly was telling you about. I don't know if you know much about Manchester Airport Group, but we've got 4 airports in the group. That's Stansted, Manchester, East Midlands and Bournemouth airports. And effectively we're a fairly sizable legacy business, right? So we've got tons of infrastructure, we have runways, we have control towers, we have 5,000 people? 6.5, that's how up to date I am. I'm all about data analytics and knowing the numbers, right? In our team, so we got a big organisation. We have a market cap of about 8.5 billion. So we actually have, if we were to float in the stock market, bigger than Sainsbury's and bigger than M&S, which I didn't know until recently, which is great. But in reality, we're a big business that actually finds it quite hard to deliver value. And when I say that, I mean that from a digital perspective. Because when you're a big organisation, what you find is you've got all these disparate silos. You've got people in IT sitting in the IT function, you've got HR, you've got capital delivery, you've got engineering services, you've got assets, you've got operations, you've got commercial, and actually trying to bring all that together is actually quite difficult. So what MAG did is they decided, you know what, we're going to take all the talent that we have around the business. They couldn't find anyone, so they found me, and they stuck me in there with Kelly, and that wasn't my gift. And they said, right guys, what we want you to do is go out and find us the best talent the North has to offer, right? Because what we're going to do is we're going to create a digital agency that's going to drive value for our business and find new ways of working, build our tech, build our trading, our revenue management, our data analytics capability. We've started to hire the best that the market has to offer, from product to engineering services, to architecture, to you name it, digital marketing, revenue managers, data scientists. We just kind of put them all together. And in 12 months we've gone from 3 people to 100 by the end of the year and 130 by probably March next year. And it's just been a fantastic, amazing journey that we kind of on. So that's us.
Wow, fabulous. honestly. Right, so I'm going to go with I hope it's not a boring first question, but I really want to know if you believe that there is a skills gap. You've said that you're here in Manchester because Manchester is awesome. If there is a skills gap, why, maybe? And in what specific areas you're finding a challenge to hire? Shall I go back round this way?
Yeah.
Helpful? Yeah. Roland, so you just hired, what, you've gone from you've got 98 people.
Yeah, well, 65 now.
Yeah. Assuming many of them were talented.
Yeah, yeah.
How's that gone?
Actually, interesting, we've been discussing this. We've actually found it quite easy to find talent. And I think the key for us has been that we're a startup. And actually, a lot of the talent that we want to be part of a startup. And actually, what we've been really dead clear about, we have this mantra at Mago that we'll only hire black belts. Right, so we kind of said, if you're a black belt and you want to be part of something and actually get to shape the culture, what we're doing, come and join us now. And actually that's been really quite easy for us. I think we've been lucky in that respect because Manchester Airport is a really strong brand. And actually a lot of the people we're trying to hire, it's not actually they're looking for, yes, people all want to make money and they want to do well financially for themselves, but actually what they really want is to go on the journey with people and kind of go, wow, we can build this, we want to build legacy, we want to build, great teams and have a great time doing it. And we've been quite gobsmacked by, we've gone out to the market and we're not here in the Northern Quarter. We thought about coming to the Northern Quarter, actually really seriously. And then we thought, you know what, let's just try it out there at the airport because we want to plug into our headquarters and make sure we don't become the organ that, the body rejects. Because if you kind of straight away, you kind of out there, they're like, oh, those freaks, they're kind of doing their own thing. Whereas we wanted to try and keep a little bit of DNA and connection into the airport. But people have come to us and it's just been fantastic. So,
What kind of people?
Oh, as I said, everything. Engineers, software engineers, front end, back end, UX, UI, developers, designers, solution architects, project managers, delivery managers, everything. We've had to kind of go off and find and hire.
I can build on that just a little bit, so we're talking about the same organisation at the same time. I wouldn't say it's been easy. I don't believe. See, that's why he has HR. I don't believe there is a war on talent. I think I would put it that way. I think demand exceeds supply in certain areas, like in the dev space. I don't think that's a myth. I think it's very true. But all it does is it puts the decision making in their hands. So you have to be a better employer and provide a better, more personalised passenger journey, we call them. But this is for our colleagues as well. So whatever we're doing for our customers, we're going to do for our colleagues too. So everything's personalised, everything's digitised. We're just trying to make it a really awesome place to work, and we've changed our whole approach to market. If I sat there and just plumbed to our recruiter over there, nodding away, Chris, lots of roles and said go and hire them, it would not have worked, and it wouldn't have worked having our stale old LinkedIn page and all those different things. We just had to get out here like we have done now. We try to support different networks. We have developer groups coming into our organisation. We fund certain networks through our developers. And we've just kind of approached the market in a completely different way, in a digital way, and in a way that kind of makes it exciting. And because we are a legacy business with money and a brand that's well recognised, but we've also got the excitement of a digital startup and an agency in there as well, it's almost a security financially, I think, that's helped to kind of sell that journey to people. But especially in the dev space, it's still difficult. You still have to really kind of sell yourself to that amazing talent that's out there.
Andrew, we know that the NHS is one of the biggest employers in the world. Top three. So how difficult has it been for you guys?
In the 7 days that I've been there,
Oh,
not been that hard. So it's been quite a while since I've been recruiting in the UK, so probably a couple of years now. But I think in a lot of ways we're very lucky in this country. We've got a lot of people with a lot of really good skills, but it's finding the right place for them. So when people are recruiting, they're not just looking for the skills, but they're looking for personality types. They're looking to make the team a better fit. Quite often it can be difficult because when you are working with like 60 different technologies as well in an organisation, you want somebody with as many of those as possible, which is a very difficult mix anyway. So I think in the past I've recruited people sometimes based on their skills and then regretted it. But some of the best hires I've had have been the people who, it was how they made me feel at interview. They really excited me. you know, and actually their technical skills I could almost take as a given, because these were people excited about what they did, and you knew full well that whatever they turned their hand to, they would do a damn good job about it, and they were the kind of people I really wanted. So it's the kind of like you said about black belts, but it's the people who could turn their hand to being a black belt of, you know, a number of different things.
And Nikki, I don't want to be biased, but I love ThoughtWorks.
Naturally.
But you guys, you're a consultancy, you hire out to all sorts of different organisations that really need to do some quite technical projects, and you're kind of looking for more senior people, which I understand it is harder to hire for. Would you say there's a gap in that kind of area?
I think there are gaps. We're all fighting really for the equality of the people that are out there. And I think the real thing for ThoughtWorks and other organisations, and to what Andrew really said, it's about finding the right cultural fit for an organisation. We're all different, we've all got different characters. Some of those things fit, you know, with the NHS, some will fit with MAG, some will fit with ThoughtWorks. And it's about finding those people, yes, and finding that fit into an organisation. I think technical skills, yes, you've got to be in there to be able to do it, but to me, fundamentally, you have to be aligned to the values of an organisation, to actually want to do well for an organisation. Years ago, people used to go and get a job. And they used to get a job, and that job used to pay them some money at the end of the week or the end of the month. Now people want to do more than that, they want to contribute more than that. So actually, an organisation that offers that is actually far more attractive. And that, you know, ThoughtWorks offers that in some ways in terms of the variety of work, the consultancy work. MAG will offer that in terms of the type of work, but it's more localised to this area. You know, there's something for everybody, and I think really to me it's about the skills that are in this room and unleashing the potential that's already out there as much as finding and nurturing the new talent.
Well, you're on the coalface, so to speak. If being in an office, coding can be the coalface. How do you see it from your point of view?
I don't know, everyone talks about this skills gap, and it's quite an interesting question to ask that whether it exists or not, because if you read the data or read what the newspapers say, there's going to be, 1 million people required in this industry in 5 years' time, and no one knows where they're going to come from. So I think there is, and I think that, you know, you lot as hirers of digital talent have had a variety of journeys into it, but today, yeah, maybe it would be easier if you've got something really exciting to offer. But what's going to happen over the next 5 years? And I, you know, to answer your question, I think that massively it will be, and it will increase every single year unless we do something about it. And there's been a lot of questions about what we're going to do about it, but no one's really asked where we're going to find these people. Like, genuinely, if there is a skills gap, and let's say there is, where are these people going to come from? And so as an organisation, North Coders, we're a diverse and inclusive school, and we try to look everywhere to find people to come and fill this gap. But I think the big thing for us is that you're not just going to find computer scientists done the traditional route of computer science to come and do it. You find people from all walks of life, so be it career changes, be it, and I know you're probably going to talk about this later, Kirsty, but be it women, and there's definitely not enough women in the digital skills area. Be it, you know, refugees, be it people from non-STEM backgrounds, and maybe it should be STEAM and not STEM, and throw the arts in there, because they can all do the digital stuff. It doesn't need to be all about science and technology, because actually it's a much bigger world than that. You know, we've had 3 people, we've had 2 refugees and a Pakistani come through our course, but they've come to this country without having ever worked here now, and they've done our course and they've now got jobs as software developers who haven't done our 12-week course. So, and you know, we've looked at this and gone, hang on a minute, we need to do something about the diversity issue in this industry. We've given away a ton of women in tech scholarships, so quite a few women have done our course and not had to pay for it, because balanced teams are better teams, whether it's science or not, you know. So I think there is a skills gap, absolutely. I think it's going to widen unless we do something about it. And to do something about it, we've got to look at all of the options, all of the people, you know, looking at under whatever wherever they're hiding, we need to bring them into this industry because it's only going to get bigger.
Fabulous. Who in the room considers themselves to be a techie? I'm going to put my hand down. Some techies here. Okay, interesting. Are you a software developer? Many software developers, okay. But obviously there's many more jobs that we would consider to be technical jobs. Sean?
I think there is definitely a skills gap. I'd second that. Kelly mentioned war on talent. From a recruiter's point of view, it's quite an interesting concept really, because part of our job is obviously speaking to clients about the massive skills gaps and the challenges that they've got in terms of bringing talent into the business. But then the next conversation, we're speaking to candidates that are working in businesses that aren't engaged and aren't necessarily bought into the opportunity they've got in the current business. So I would say that I think there is in certain instances a war on talent, but I think also that war on talent starts internally within your own business, if that makes sense. I met with some of the guys from LinkedIn this week and they were probably just trying to sell me the most advertising they could possibly, but they were telling me that somewhere between 50 to 60% of LinkedIn, which is currently 400 million users last count, are passive job seekers. So they will basically consider the right opportunity if it's put in front of them. I think on top of that, they were saying another 15% are active job seekers. So, you know, whether they were trying to pitch, it was a very good pitch, but they were trying to pitch basically that 75% of people on LinkedIn would consider the right opportunity. And that just blew my mind. You know, when you throw into things like, I don't know, entrepreneurship is something that is really being driven at the moment, so people to go and set their own businesses up, things like that. It's clear that candidates have more options now. You know, whether they're direct options, whether they're options that are kind of daily getting put down their throats, or whatever it might be, that might be more options. I personally like to put things into kind of a real world perspective. So when I was in the car on the way back from this meeting, I was thinking 75% of people in work, and you know, if you put it in real life terms, work is, I suppose, like a long-term relationship. Okay, so bear with me a minute. So if there's 75% of people, so that's 3 out of 4 people that are in long-term relationships, but still open to something else that's better down the road. Well, first thing I did was call my wife just to check what was going on. But you know, that kind of highlights it to me. I think, look, there is definitely a war on talent. There is definitely a skills gap. Sorry, I don't think there's a war on talent in terms of, you know, so many people just fighting over the same candidate. But I do think there's opportunities of people being a bit more open-minded about the candidates they'll take on, but also the candidates that are in the current organisation. So I always advise my clients to be recruiting, you know, 80% fit is a perfect fit for someone for your organisation. I get a lot of people coming to me saying, right, I need someone with 5 years this, 3 years that, 2 years that. I'm like, it's only been out 18 months that, but yeah, you know, you're kind of with me, and they've got this list of this perfect person that they need to fill their vacancy right now. So I'll say, okay, great, well, what's this person going to do in 2 years' time? And then you can see the cogs start to tick of, okay, and they're just trying to plug a gap right here, right now. So I think from my perspective, you know, looking at talent as a whole, looking at talent that's in your organisation already for those people that are here that are running businesses or involved in that process, but also from a candidate's point of view, those people that are looking for jobs, also setting your expectations in the right way. What do you want to be doing in 2 years' time? What does a business want you to be doing in 2 years' time? And I think just thinking a bit more laterally about the talent that we've got will kind of solve some of the problems.
I have to say the word talent just simply reminds me of 1990s.
Sorry. Okay.
I'm trying to get back to being called people.
People will do.
People with skills. Amal, how do you prepare? So this sounds like, I mean, how do you've got people who are kind of all promiscuous, always looking for opportunity. is it companies' job to fix? How do you kind of set that culture? And do you set up your graduates for for careers, or are they for jobs? How do you set people up for that kind of environment?
I want to talk about the plugging the gap thing that you mentioned, because that's the obvious thing to do. It's like, shit, we need some people in this department, and we need them tomorrow, so let's just hire for that. And to go back to the digital skills question and the gap, if you're really going to prepare for it, you're going to have a plan over 5 years. You'll really think about what's going to happen and how it's going to work and whatever. So, to answer your question about the digital, about the preparation, I mean, we prepare people for the workplace. We teach people how to code. We have a career coach at North Cambridge that also prepares them for what it's like to be at work. And a lot of them are career changes. They've been in a particular job, be it supermarket shelf stackers or head of sales or PRs or graphic designers or whatever. So they've been in work, but actually preparing them for the digital workplace. So we do that as well. But to really to get it right, I think you've got to have the joined up thinking thing. You've got to go, over the next 5 years, there's going to be these gaps, there's going to be these things that are going to happen, and how do we prepare for that? How we do it at North Cambridge is really simple. So we train them very well, and we make sure they understand how to teach themselves. The biggest thing we do is actually like, you learn how to code, you've got to learn how to teach yourself, and that's 12 weeks to spend doing that. And then, going forward, they can then get into those organisations and be valuable because they haven't just stopped learning. And I'm sure, as the software developers on this panel will appreciate, the best ones never stop learning, right? They've always got to be at that point where they're learning. That's the only way you're really going to make yourself useful in this industry, is to continue that learning journey.
Kelly, you're HR director. It feels like this might be the most important job. No offense, Helen. you find the right people and keep them. How do you go about is it planning for 5 years?
We basically haven't slept for a year, is how we've done it. We're forecasting. I think it's fair to say we've scraped through our first year. So I am a qualified workforce planner from my Sims by background. So I know all about
workforce planner.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So I know all about workforce planning, but I also know that the world doesn't sit still for 2 seconds. So what we do is very iterative. Our OD model started off with a lot of third-party input. OD, sorry, org design. Kick me. We started off with a very loose kind of model, and we knew we'd have to iterate it as we grew. What we're actually finding is that is looser than ever. So everyone advised me start off with a high-skill, loose-knit structure. They could not have given me any better advice. So what I have decided to do in my wisdom is scrap job descriptions going forwards. My reward partner will absolutely hate me, but I think the way that we go forward in digital is create role thumbprints. So everyone's got a little bit of this kind of room to go into other projects, other areas of work. I include myself in that. No one will kind of agree that I just muscled into branding because no one else was doing it, and then I decided I was an office designer because no one else was doing it. And it gives people kind of ability to do that stuff that they've never done before. They realise new skills. They enjoy their job a hell of a lot more, and you keep them. Equally, we can kind of put our people on the areas where we need the resource most at that particular time. One of the things where we're talking about skills and the worry about where we're going to get them from and all that great stuff, we're kind of really strong on grassroots. So I've just had a debate today with our CEO about why I'm not hiring graduates next year. So I know, very controversial. It's not that we won't hire graduates. When we find them in the marketplace and they're graduates and they've got the skill set and the cultural fit that we're looking for, we will. But I'm very much about grassroots. I'm very much about kind of getting into schools and talking to young girls. I think we've got a huge CSR responsibility as an organisation to get out there and talk to young talent. We have quite a high need population in Manchester, so that's people that aren't in education or work, and maybe they don't have that self-belief in themselves, but I believe you can put anyone through these programs if they have the right basic skill set to be able to go through and do that really well whilst they're earning, 17 grand a year or whatever. They're on a package with an organisation that looks after them, and therefore you keep probably that skill or that individual for 4 years rather than taking a graduate on that you might only keep for 1 or 2. So it's well known that developers are quite promiscuous. I'm sorry guys, but the research has proven this. Most developers, they say every 1 to 2 years are looking for that next move, whether they take it or not. So our job is making it such a great place to work and investing in our people and looking after them that they don't want to go anywhere else, quite frankly.
That's fabulous. Nikki, I'm going to go with 2 questions, I'm sorry, at the same time, because you said that your job title is VAR, but what you actually do is so interesting what Kelly had said about people being able to have room to do whatever and the scrapping of job titles. So I guess how that fits in with your kind of experience, but then also about hiring, grassroots diversity and all that kind of stuff.
So I'll try to answer all of that.
Answer it very quickly as a test.
So I think, for me, I look at ThoughtWorks and what I've done at ThoughtWorks is I actually came in, I had a role, I had a title, I had a thing, they recruited me against something. I think Neil will probably acknowledge the fact that I came in and very quickly that was not what I was going to do. Yeah. But that was part of the culture, and it is part of the culture of ThoughtWorks, is yes, you have to go out there. People, yourselves, you identify as something, we all put labels on each other. It's very easy to sort of to look at that talent and say, well, okay, we need a project manager or we need a delivery manager, and that actually allows us to bring some, whether it be the 60 or the 80% of the skills that come into the organisation. But it's something that actually pulls people in. But at that point, it's actually giving people the freedom. We do sort of have job descriptions, I believe, Neil. Is that right?
Sort of.
Yeah. So we do have job descriptions, but we're moving more and more away from that as you are as well. What we actually look at is the talent that comes through the door, the people that sit before us, and understand how we can actually build those into the organisation, where they feel happy, they feel that they're contributing as well. An organisation is about everybody that's in it. We might well discuss more about culture a little bit later.
Yes,
but
the second part of my question will be, you've also said you need to create a place that people don't want to leave. Can you do that? How do you do that?
So I think, what is culture to me? I think I might be a little bit contentious here, but there's 2 aspects to culture. There's the culture that the organisation creates, yes? And so, a hierarchical structure that's process-driven by specific roles, that's the sort of culture that you work in. There's also the culture that people you bring into the organisation, yeah? And really it's about getting the right balance between those 2 things. Historically, organisations used to have a huge amount of structure in organisation because we didn't have the technology. We didn't have the technology that would allow us that freedom. We now have that technology. We need to change. We need to change the way that the culture is actually used within the organisation to build. Culture is about everybody in this room. We bring culture into an organisation. Let's get the right fit to the organisation, and then actually that marriage is a marriage made in heaven. Ish.
Andrew, you've been doing this for a long time. And the conversation must have changed an awful lot over that time. You've been at Capita, huge companies, and now doing massive digital transformation. How do you feel like these companies, these big organisations can take on that kind of challenge? You've got to hire for fun and you've got to make people want to stay, but really you've got to get the job done, no?
Yeah, and I think the sort of probably going back to an earlier point around people looking to move on, and there are quite often opportunities in your own organisation. When I was at Oceans, I was at Oceans for 8 years. My role changed every 18 months. It gave me new excitement, new things to do. And I think people in the technology space, they are expecting to see new things. They wanted to use new technologies. They wanted to use new patterns and practices. And if you don't keep up with that, then that's when you do lose people to the young, new, fresh, exciting startups. But there's still a lot to be said for the large organisations. As we kind of said about culture, it's the sum total of everybody that's in the organisation. It's also the leadership and management style. And a lot of people, well, I mean, I suppose when people move to a new job, the first thing they've done is decided to leave their old one, actually leave the old organisation. But possibly they've not looked at what options there are to stay within the organisation because they don't have the relationship with their career manager, the line manager, whatever, to say, do you know what, I'd like to do something different. And a few years ago I was working in an organisation, we did have very clear career pathways. But they were intermingled. There were opportunities to hop off and say, I was a developer, actually, I've done a bit of testing, I'd quite like to do some testing, or quite like to work in support, although that never happened. Because developers don't like to use support. So I think it is incumbent on organisations as a collective to demonstrate not just why somebody should stay, but what the opportunities are to stay. And line managers have that relationship to say, we want you to stay, we recognise the skills you've got, we recognise the potential you've got, and we don't want to necessarily just pigeonhole you into one role.
So Nolan, you're starting from scratch. Can you tell us, I'm still a bit, I still want to know, so at Mago, you've got all of these, you've got the airports, you've got the planes, you've got the air traffic control. What kind of value are you going to deliver for all of us by the means of hiring people? What's the kind of, what is Manchester Airport actually trying to do with all of these people? This is just out of interest.
That's all right. No, seriously, what we are there to do is really just solve our customer pain points. Right, so airports are really difficult things to get through. Airports are very complex things. They're cities rolled into one sort of finite area. You've got traffic congestion, you've got security, you've got compliance, you've got, bomb threats, you've got just shed loads of people coming who are happy, sad, grumpy, frustrated, wanting to just take their time. You name it. You try and segment your market and you can't, because actually every type of customer will travel and have a different mindset based on why they're traveling. So I might travel with my family and I want a different experience if I'm traveling with my mates on a stag do. I want a different experience if I'm traveling on business and I'm going on a Monday at 4 o'clock in the morning. And actually this is one customer, so how can you profile me and know my needs when I've got different desires based on who I'm traveling, who I'm traveling with, why I'm traveling, how long I'm traveling for, and the purpose. So when you have those complexities and 55 million passengers, with varying demographics, some are inbound, some are outbound, some speak English, some don't, it's just really quite difficult. So all that in mind, we're trying to find out, right, what are our customer pain points and how do we solve those? And we're a business, so then if we can solve those pain points, can we monetize that and actually create shareholder value and create value for our business so we can invest back in our business? And that's been something we're a massively ambitious business. We drive a lot of profit, but we invest that back in. So you take Manchester this year, we're going to invest £1 billion at Manchester, knocking down Terminal 1 and building a new terminal. We're going to spend £500 million, 500 million at Stansted. We're looking at buying airports in Japan, we're looking at buying airports in Sofia. We are investing in, we've created a US business, and it's all around the same thing. Solve a customer pain point and see how we can really just create a journey for our customers where they actually want to fly from our airports, because that's kind of it's an important part for Manchester. We are the northern gateway. We are the way, we can really help bring talent and bring investment in. And we invest a huge amount and are responsible for a huge amount of investment in the northwest.
Can you give us a sneak peek? Have you done a project so far that you could tell us about, or is it still secrets?
No. I mean, we're working on.
I hate people that snore.
Yeah. I find
Snoring on planes, man.
We're building. We're kind of, as I said, we're starting from scratch, right? But we're building a whole lot of stuff. So we run an e-commerce platform for all our car parking revenues, which generates about 100 million a year. We are building all our websites. We are building a retail e-commerce platform where we can sell retail in advance to customers coming to our airports, and we've got about 100 different retailers in our airports, and one of them has about 17,000 SKUs, stock keeping unit, so product items. So we have to kind of build all the product feeds and think about how do we dropship, how do we have multiple fulfillment options, how do we build a multi-merchant marketplace. And that's just retail. And then we're looking at apps and chatbots and artificial intelligence and revenue management capabilities, and because we have millions and millions and millions of customers that transact with us every year. So how do we really take those insights and turn those, we'll take data from multiple touch points and turn that into actionable insight that we can then turn back into solutions to problems and products and services we can sell. So it's a really complex place, but one thing I was saying to one of the guys earlier tonight is that the exciting thing about the airport is there's just so many opportunities to fix stuff, and our biggest challenge is what do we fix first? It's like, honestly, it's like, geez, I could have triple the team and actually still have more work to do, and that work just keeps evolving. So that's exciting. And I go back to Kelly with another OD, organisational design. I think I've given you about 7 in the last 3 months, and she gets really frustrated with that. But for me, it's about opportunity.
Okay, I'm going to go a bit Davina McCall, or whoever your choice of modern or old-fashioned person that runs their audiences is. It might be Annika Rice, depending on how old you are. Does anybody have a burning question right now? I know we've got techies in the room, people who are looking for jobs, people who own companies, brave people as well. I did get a question from somebody from the audience before who was fantastic. A young man to go first. Here we go. I have to say.
Is there a skills gap at the top? So to retain talent, you have to have leaders who understand the talent they're hiring. How do you do that? How do you get that kind of talent in?
So is there a skills gap at the top? Sean, CEO.
Do you know what? I'm going to pass this one off to Nikki actually, because Nikki, we were speaking about this in length.
Right, thank you. So is there a skills gap at the top? I think honestly, there are organisations that are really forward-thinking, that really understand the talent that is needed to actually transform and change their organisations. I think there are still a lot of organisations who basically are stuck in the dark ages. And really what you actually need is to identify those people, those catalysts that can actually make that change. I think it's difficult to find those people. I think it's difficult to find people that have got the right approach, the right foresight, the right visionary aspects. This is no longer about managing a business effectively. It's about looking at an organisation and saying, well, where are we going to be in 2, 3, 5 years' time? And the business will change, the organisation will change. You're going to get disruptors out there in the market that are going to come along and take business from you. How prepared are you for that? So, yes, I do think it's very difficult to really identify the top talent who can actually go into organisations, whether it be permanent or consultancies, etc., and say to them, hey guys, you need to think about where you're going to go over the next 2, 3, 5 years' time. Obviously, MAG have recognised that. They've created a faction led by Nolan there. But it's a really interesting challenge. I could say you've taken the easy way out. It's much easier to actually create a brand new organisation, a startup to one side, because it's just too difficult to change your mothership, the mother organisation. Some organisations aren't able to do that, and you actually do have to try and change, wholly or in part of that culture. That's what sort of drives me forward. So I think we're sort of not adversaries, but we operate in the same space. For an organisation that I'm working with at the moment, we're looking at 2 aspects. We're saying, should you create a faction, or should you bear with it? But to bear with it, there's a huge cultural capability, talent, and how to get the talent who's got that vision right at the top to be able to say, this is what you need to do. It's a challenge, I think.
Perspective. So we started out as 5 MAG leaders. I called them MAG natives. And I was actually Andrew Harrison's first hire and Nolan alongside. So that shows how seriously they took the leadership and the people agenda at that time. What they did is they put a visionary leader on that, so they knew, some of the stuff that we're doing might be a bit dated, our approach to things might not be the best, we're heavily governance driven as an organisation, we have to be, we're an airport, right? We've got investors that take this stuff really seriously, we've got security issues, all that kind of stuff. So some people would look from, the outside in and think really old fashioned, dated, not the kind of place I would want to work. I was one of those people, I've got to be really honest with you. Andrew Harrison came across to me as I was leaving the organisation as a contractor and said, "I've got this amazing opportunity coming up. We're going to start a really disruptive digital agency in Mag, and we're going to kind of tear it up. We're going to set up our own thing at arm's length. We're going to try it like that, but then we're going to reach back into the organisation and build that bridge and bring them with us, because we keep saying we don't want to be that sort of limb that everybody rejects, because we're playing with the bright shiny toys in the corner in the creche, and they're all a bit envious or just hate us. There's been a bit of that. It's been really challenging. It's been really a nightmare to collaborate with internal IT, for example, initially. But we're really getting there as an organisation now. And I think one of the things that we really invested in as a leadership team was we thought, I've worked in tech before, I'm sure Nolan has, Andrew's retail background, but we took ourselves out of the business. We did corporate raids at different organisations, from startups to the Googles and the Microsofts of the world. And we really immersed ourselves into what they were doing, what worked, what didn't work, what the leadership agenda was, what we needed to do a bit differently. We went away and we kind of developed from the bottom up a whole programme on e-commerce and leadership in that space with Manchester Business School, which wasn't off the shelf. I told them the problem, we worked through it for 4 months and then we delivered it. And we recognised as leaders what we needed to do is back off. We needed to create space for our people. We couldn't work in the way that we were working in waterfall methodology and submitting 5 papers for a bit of money on something or other to hire somebody. So we completely tore it up and created our own model. And now what we're finding, Nolan and I were just at a seminar the other day, and they just kept throwing it out to us. What am Mago doing? How can we do this in the wider business? So it actually shows that even those organisations that are a bit stuffy, maybe a little bit set in their ways, are already looking to the digital world to kind of change, because anyone can implement agile. They don't have to be a techie. Anyone can implement design thinking. Anyone can hack anything. In HR we do it all the time. So this is just about sharing best practice, and it's a journey. I don't think you fix a culture or a way of working overnight. You've got to do it piece by piece.
And you were nodding a little bit before there, Hamill, so
I nodded quite a lot, so
think about something else. You were nodding at what was being said about creating organisations, cultural change. You're not as old as Mag. You're not Mag, Kelly. You're not as old as Manchester Airport Group. What are you kind of thinking about how you organise your business and how you grow?
So last April there were 2 co-founders, right? And now we have a stack of 12, 13, I lost count. So not very long, we've kind of grown quite a lot, and we've moved, and we used to be in an 800 square foot office, we've got 5,000 square foot Federation House now. It's a great place to be. And we have 4 heads of department plus the co-founders. So we've just grown. We're a startup. I can't, the whole question about is there a skills gap at the top? I think we're doing all right. I look at the 2 people that I own the business with, the 3 people, and there's things that we all look at each other and go, shit, you don't know that, or you don't know that. But the startup way is you go off and teach yourself and you figure it out. And if you don't figure it out, then maybe you need to think about whether that person should be there in the first place, right? It's the only way at this stage that you can do that stuff, I think, is you've got to go. It's the same as a developer. The minute you stop believing that you don't need to teach yourself stuff, is the minute you stop being a good developer. And the same with running businesses, I think. The minute you stop feeling like the minute you feel like you know everything, then that's the minute you're not any longer a good business person.
And hands up. Next brave soul. Oh, I've got somebody over here. Go next. You won't say you left.
Hello, my name's Chris. I'm a recruiter for Mag. As no one was saying, we like to hire black belts, which makes my job really difficult. But these guys aren't cheap, and they're getting more expensive. So my question, sorry Sean, you did say don't ask any questions, so feel free to. What I was looking for really is where's the salary going? It seems to be more and more expensive, and we're trying to play catch up all the time. Is it going to burst? Is Manchester completely different from other parts of the country? What are your thoughts on the future?
See how the microphone made its way over to me. I think Max should put the salaries up first of all. Yeah, look, I think from a kind of an all-rounded view of dealing with a number of candidates, and I definitely do think that when in certain areas where the demand outweighs the supply, then obviously commercially people are going to be looking to get the best deals. Part of that I think is salary, but I also think part of that is the overall package of what that business can offer. So whether that's the vision of the business and getting people engaged with that as part of the recruitment process, and where they can go, whether that's development, more and more I think a lot of people that we deal with, and Amal could probably vouch for this at the entry level, are really interested in how do they develop, how do they progress, how do they pick up new skills, how do they better themselves, I suppose. And I think then over and above that, it's things like flexibility, something I know Mag do quite a lot of, but a lot of other businesses, opportunity to work from home. But then I also think one of the things that, speaking from a recruitment point of view in terms of the challenges for my business, recruitment is as competitive as any other industry. There's a couple of recruit consultants sat there that are nodding heads. And I think it's thinking about basically engaging people in your brand, engaging people in your vision, making them feel part of something. Getting as many of the team involved in the interview process. I think the more and more that we can engage people on kind of gut feel and emotion and wanting to be involved in something that's going to be exciting, then that will play part of it. And then the other sides of, right, okay, well, have I got the right package, have I got the right development, have I got the right progression, will hopefully play in both parts, if that answers your question.
Salaries are getting ridiculous, and that, if nothing else, is a measure of the talent gap, the skills gap, right? So the only way you're going to get over that is by growing and nurturing really good people and real talent. It's going to come from the bottom that all of these organisations are going to look at and go, how are we going to bring these people into our organisations, and how are we going to make sure they stay, how are we going to make sure they're going to get ingrained into our company values and our company, the way we do business. And that's like as much as the business that you do, but also the way you look after the people that work for you. So, we deal with companies like Auto Trader who have a fantastic way of looking after their staff and making sure that they don't want to leave because working there is fun, interesting. They have to make sure they pay well, but they don't overpay, right? And that's the thing, it's all about making sure that the people you bring in are ingrained in what you do and ingrained in how you do it. And I think, I'm sat on a panel that's been organised by a recruitment firm, and it's a really difficult situation because so like, if you want to move business, like, you could be earning a little bit more there, or you could be earning a little bit less here, or whatever. And so that exists, and there's nothing you can do about that. But if there was more talent coming up from the bottom that was ingested into your business and really believes in that business itself, then they're less likely to want to leave, and therefore you might not need to pay as much because you make that person believe in what you're doing. I think that's the big thing.
Fabulous. I have time for one more question from you.
A lot of it's been answered there,
yeah? Yeah, there is one at the back if you're...
No, I'll answer it.
Yeah, I know, yes. Kyle's very good.
Hi everyone. So my question is, Sean, you mentioned a lot about the war on talent starting internally, and Kelly, you mentioned about making the place so great to work that no one wants to leave. So what I want to know is, what makes a great workplace?
A slide. I don't know. Do you know what we did was we started with when we inherited 35 people commercially from MAG, our other MAG natives. We realised we were going to have to build this culture when we were bringing our digital natives on board to create our MAGO natives, that we were going to have to create something pretty special, and that wasn't what we had currently. And actually what we had was quite a rundown team. They were under a lot of pressure, I think it's fair to say, in terms of delivering their commercials, with half the resource we actually needed at that point. And the pressures were very, very real. You know, Mag is a commercial beast, you know, so we had to deliver those, and that wasn't going away. What we decided to do was we hacked the strategy together as a team. So we had a multidisciplinary team, you know, in a room eating pizza, cold pizza often, kind of working through what we needed to kind of hang our hat on and take back to the board, and that was externally facilitated initially. Once we had that, and only once we had that, I hacked the colleague strategy with them. So, you know, you mentioned people earlier, we talk colleague because we're all part of like this collegiate, this sort of family almost. And what we did was we kind of pulled out the 6 core themes of what we were hearing out in the marketplace as we were visiting other organisations, the kind of do's and don't do's really, but also what we were researching and what we were seeing out in the media. And we kind of came up with 6 core themes, starting with leadership and what we should be like, talent and you know how we approach it and what talent we need, culture as an output rather than an input, health and well-being was right up there as part of ours, and I don't just mean putting a gym in, which we did do, but it was a quadrant of health and well-being around kind of sociological and psychological well-being as well. And we pulled all of that together and worked with them and hung everything on what they told us was important to them. So rather than me going, I'm a HR director, I'm going to write a strategy and we're going to plan on this and we're just going to do it, they told me, and we pulled it all together over the Christmas period, and they own it. So who owns culture? The team owns culture. Who owns engagement? The team owns engagement. And every month we have a culture session with the team where we go back on that and we go, right, what's working, what's broken, how do we fix it, and let's drive forward basically. So all of it is done, I think, with us by empowering the team in terms of the way they work and what they're delivering on projects, but also in terms of culture and then really owning that and driving it forward. So, you know, if they're not happy and they created it, you know, it's going to be an issue, isn't it? And we've never had any problems. We haven't had any sickness absence. We haven't had any, you know, we haven't had much turnover really. A couple of losses really early days. We don't have any disciplinaries or grievances. It's just unheard of. The team bring their whole personality to work. And when you talked earlier about kind of inclusivity and how you bring people into the business, everything's peer-to-peer now, so yeah, they do a video selfie and they submit the CV and we get a really good feel for who they are right at the beginning, but when we've done the manager interview, the peers actually hire them rather than us, so if they're not saying that they're a cultural fit, we don't go ahead. And then when they join us on day one, their social media sort of selfie that we pulled together with a bit of a profile on who they are and what they like doing has gone out to the whole team, so they've got something to talk about on day one. Then they get this gift bag that the team have pulled together, which is, you know, one of the guys said, my favourite, sort of my hero is Animal. Is that out of, I don't know what that, Animal. The Muppets. Muppets is my favourite, it's like my hero, right? Everyone else puts like mum or dad, this guy put Animal. So on his first day, he had Animal on his desk playing the drums. So it's just things like that, they really are, this isn't made up, it's not fabricated, it's not ideas and sort of gimmicks I'm coming up with. I'm not going to put a slide into the new office that we're building. I'm going to put things in that they need and that'll really add value.
Anybody else want to come back on that? Your pizza is cooking, as far as I understand.
I think, you know, quite literally, it's a very personal thing, isn't it? So, certainly what I see with larger teams is you set your culture, you set your expectations, and as long as you've got the people that actually are part of that and feel part of the team, you know, then the people who feel part of the team, who feel part of the culture, actually want to stay. We can talk about money, but I think it's very rare, I think, that people actually leave for money. They might join a company for money, but it might be something around, I'm being expected to work stupidly long hours and I've got a family. I've had people who I've pretty much had to push out of the door at 11 o'clock at night because they want to stay and they want to work and they are, and so, you know, a lot of it is very personal. Some of the things that I've read around retention are that people very rarely leave if they feel they've got some close friends in the team. So that's not something really as managers you can drive that. You have to, you know, it has to be part of the team that are driving that. Everybody wanting to be part of that team, of that family. So, you know, again, there's lots of checklists we can go through around, you know, great place to work surveys and things like that. But, you know, invariably it's about setting the right expectations of people and then standing up and saying that's what it is. You know, you will work long hours, you recruit people who will work long hours, fine, they're probably into that. You say everybody walks out the door at 5:30, well, if you keep them until 8 o'clock at night and they miss bath time or whatever for the kids, then that's a big deal to them.
I'm in Friends. That's very nice. Noel wanted to come in.
Yeah, I think I think for us is just really being clear about your vision. You know, we have set a really ambitious vision, but a vision that people want to be a part of. So we've just been quite clear. The vision should always be really simple. Listen, we're not going to take on Amazon because we're never going to beat Amazon, but we are going to be the best airport e-commerce business there is in the world. Absolutely, we're going to do that. In some parts of our business already is, and the rest we're going to get there. So be clear on your vision that's attainable, that people go, you know what, I want to be a part of an airport group that is the best e-commerce business, and everything we do is going up to that one vision. And then what we say is, you know what guys, there are no hierarchies in our business. Yes, we have structures and we have ODs and all that kind of good stuff, but that's just to do colleague achievement reviews. You know what, when we sit in a meeting, we challenge up, down and across, and we have really challenging conversations. You know, and it's like the highest directors right down to there's the sort of grassroots, you know, whether it's a grad in our team, we'll be challenging like the directors of the business. And then what we do is we challenge, well firstly we listen, then we challenge and then we align. So we say, you know what, we've had a good debate about this, we've now got a plan, we join together, now let's just kick the pig, let's smash it, let's do it. And if it doesn't work, we fail fast, and we try something again. And we just keep iterating on it like that. And I think strong vision, you know, that real cross co-creation, collaboration, and that's how I think you keep people, because it's not the destination, guys, it's the journey. If you get the journey right, the destination comes.
Did we kick a pig?
Every
What is going on there at the airport? So I'm. Time to wrap up? Is that true?
Yeah. Pizza's ready. Yeah.
There's fire over there. I'm assuming it's not bad news. We didn't get to talk about diversity,
Okay.
so I just wanted to do a small plug. I won't get everybody to say it,
Yes.
but diverse teams make better decisions. They are more likely to enter new markets, and you're more likely to have a sustainable company. Google Maps doesn't have an option for people who have mobility issues, and if it did, it would be a much better product. Just one example of how diversity is better for businesses and better for the world. And there are many tools already out there that I have not built, which can help you address diversity. One is called Project Include, which helps you go through your entire business and work out how to hire for diversity. The other one is called the Diversity Charter, which is about making sure that you have diversity on panels and diversity as a speaker. So you can say, have you considered accessibility requirements, or have you considered any other kind of diversity elements on your events. So, Sean, do you want to do a little closer after my somber answer?
Yeah.
The 1 minute elephant picture on diversity. No, look,
I nailed it, right?
I just wanted to say something.
Oh, go on. Okay.
Sorry, no, the diversity thing is obviously very important to us, and I was chatting to someone we placed into a business, one of our first women in tech scholars, who's gone into a business, and she's the only dev on the whole dev team. She's the only non-Brit on that whole dev team, and I spoke to her last night, and she's not happy. She's genuinely not happy, and in that business there isn't someone that she can go and talk to about the fact that she's not happy. She's been overlooked as well. It's like, we are trying to create a more diverse workforce. I don't believe anyone on this panel isn't trying to do that and trying to make sure. But businesses have to understand that if you do it, it can't be about tokenism, and it can't be about not then looking after them, hiring for the right reasons, and then not making sure that that exists. So I don't know. That was it. I just wanted to share that because I had that conversation with her last night.
Cool. Look, thank you everyone for your involvement. Thanks again to the panel. Great news is there's pizza and beers coming. I think, look, these obviously people in the panel that are passionate about lots of things. Nolan seems passionate about everything. So if you want to grab these guys later on, obviously in a manly way, not physically grab them, then I'm sure they'll be happy to expand on some of the things they've talked about today. Enjoy the pizza, enjoy the beers, and thanks a lot again for coming along.
Thank you everyone.